Now, shall we begin?
All right.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
This is going to be quite the ride.
And hello everybody, and welcome to the Movie Pit Podcast. I am your host, Christian. Thank you very much for joining me on the podcast this week. I've been gone for a little bit. I apologize for that. That was not my intention to leave you guys high and dry, especially last week when, all the good trailers are coming out. But we got some good trailers this week too. So hello everybody, welcome to the Movie Pit Podcast. Like I mentioned, I am your host, Christian. This is of course where we discuss all of the latest big breaking movie news items of the week. I am very tired today. I have had quite a week so far, and the week's not over. So hello, welcome. Like I mentioned, we talk about the big breaking movie news items coming out this week. We also talk about the movie news that came out this week, the big movie news items that came out this week, and we'll also talk about the the movies coming out in theater. See, I'm already tired, and I'm not going to edit this out because I'm just not going to. We also talk about the movies that are coming out in theaters this weekend for all your viewing pleasures. We got quite a few of those coming out this week, so that's definitely going to be a little cool discussion. And I already saw one of them this week, so I will give you my brief thoughts on the new Black Christmas remake that came out this week a little bit later on the podcast. So yeah, that's it. I'm not going to talk about any of the movie news items that we missed when the podcast came out because that would be too much. Instead, we're just going to power through and we're going to go right straight to this week. Thankfully, one of those trailers that came out over the weekend came out on Sunday. So technically, it's the news item that came out this week. You will know exactly which one I'm talking about when we get to it. So yeah, let's get to the movie news items and let's get straight to trailer talk.
Coming soon to theaters.
So we have two trailers that came out this week that I'm not going to talk about too much, but I'm going to mention them. One of them is Promising Young Woman. It stars Carey Mulligan as Cassie, who is a promising young woman until a mysterious event abruptly derailed her future. Now an unexpected encounter is about to give Cassie a chance to right the wrongs of her past. That is directed by the creator of Killing Eve, Emerald Fennell. I think that's how you pronounce that person's last name. But that's there. It's got a pretty great supporting cast. You got Adam Brody in there, Bo Burnham, Alison Brie, Laverne Cox, Sam Richardson, Max Greenfield, Christopher Mintz-Plasse, Clancy Brown, Connie Britton, and Alfred Molina. The trailer's not too bad. I'm gonna hold off on it and see how it is, but that comes out next year in April, I should say. And then the other trailer that came out was In the Heights, which is based off the Broadway play from Lin-Manuel Miranda. Yes, he has more than one play besides Hamilton. That opens next year as well in June. And that is directed by John M. Chu, who of course directed Crazy Rich Asians very recently. So those two trailers are up if you want to go view those. The other one that I want to mention also very briefly is Antlers, which is the new movie directed by Scott Cooper, who directed Black Mask and Hostiles and Crazy Heart and Out of the Furnace. It's also co-written by him and Nick, I always mispronounce his last name, Atokolska. That's probably not how you mispronounce the last name, but he also wrote the short story this is based off of called The Quiet Boy. And the film follows a small-town Oregon teacher, played by Kerry Russell, and her brother, who is the local sheriff, played by Jesse Plemons, who discover that a young student of hers, I should say, is harboring a dangerous secret with frightening consequences. It's produced by Guillermo del Toro. If you need another added little tidbit to get you excited for that after you watch the trailer, although the trailer does say it, but or if you need something to make yourself go watch it, this looks pretty cool. This was something that jumped on top of my list right away when I heard about it, just the description of it and who was involved, and then watching the trailers. This is labeled as the final trailer, even though the movie's coming out It's not coming out until April of next year, so maybe they're just gonna go lay quiet for a while and then bring it up. So I don't know why they labeled it the final trailer, even though it's not coming out till April. But it was supposed to come out in January, but they moved it to April, unless they're planning on moving it back to January. I don't know. But at the moment, it's coming out until April. It's a very cool trailer. It's a more visual trailer, so that's why I'm not playing it right now. That was my original thought, but I do recommend you watch it. It's really cool. It looks like a fun little creature feature, which I always like saying, but I never get to say enough. But yeah, there's that if you want to go check that out. That looks pretty cool for all you horror fans out there. So let's get to the trailers that came out this week, or in some cases over the weekend. The first trailer is Free Guy.
Don't have a good day. Have a great day.
Everybody down on the ground!
Hey, bud, you ever think that there's got to be more?
More than what?
The stuff we do day after day. Being shot at? Run over? Taken hostage?
Everybody down on the ground!
Today's gonna be different.
Hi.
God, this isn't you. You don't do this, man.
Maybe I do.
Dude, this is scary.
He's just resting.
In pieces. That man is dead.
He's so sleepy.
But it's just a squeeze me.
Wow.
Is this what recreational drugs feel like?
Guy, this world, it's a video game. And it's full of bad guys.
I'm a rule breaker. I'm a rattle chicka snaker.
We need you to be the good guy.
I'm sorry. Oh, God.
Giddy up!
Is that a Glock in your pocket?
No,
What?
it's 2 Glocks.
That is directed by Sean Levy, and as you heard, Free Guy stars Ryan Reynolds as Guy, who is a bank teller who discovers he's actually an NPC, which is a non-playable character for all you non-video game players. In an intense, brutal, open-world video game, Guy must then team up with Molotov Girl, who is played by Jodie Comer, who is also in Killing Eve. We talked about Killing Eve earlier. In order to prevent the game's creators, one of them played by Taika Waititi, from shutting it down. This looks pretty cool. It's not something that we haven't kind of seen before. I mean, it's something that we've seen before, but not necessarily, overt. I'm a big Ryan Reynolds fan. I know a lot of people aren't Ryan Reynolds fans, and I know there are people who are tired of Ryan Reynolds playing Deadpool all the time, but I think maybe the concept could be good. I mean, it's the first trailer for it. It's Sean Levy, who has done the Night at the Museum movies. He's one of the guys that was responsible for Stranger Things, or is responsible for Stranger Things. The show's not over yet. And he has also directed Real Steel, which was the Hugh Jackman movie about the fighting robots, which I thoroughly enjoyed when I first watched it, and I watched the other day on TV, and I was like, this isn't that bad. I know why. I mean, I can see why people hated it or why people were making fun of it, but when you kind of sit down and you watch it, it's not that bad. So Free Guy. I mean, I'm excited for it. I mean, look, it's also gonna be one of the Independence Day movies. It's coming out July 3rd next year, so I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I might just be Ryan Reynolds trash, but I'm okay with that. So the next trailer we're going to talk about is Ghostbusters Afterlife. That is co-written by Gil Kenan, who co-wrote, I believe, Monster House. I didn't write it down in my outline, but I remember it because I always remember the name. And Jason Reitman, who also directed the movie, and he is, of course, the son of Ivan Reitman, who directed the original Ghostbusters movies. So Ghostbusters Afterlife brings the action to modern day, or at least what looks like modern day, where the events of the first two original Ghostbusters happen. That's right, this is a direct sequel to the original movies. The film will follow a family with Carrie Coon playing the mother, and her two children, Trevor, played by Finn Wolfhard from Stranger Things, and Phoebe, played by McKenna Grace from the last Annabelle movie. She also played one of the younger versions of Captain Marvel. She has also been in a movie called, what was it called? Was it called Gifted? With Chris Evans, where she played like a really, really smart little girl, which was also very good. And if anything, you got Chris Evans in there, so I mean, okay. And it's been a bunch of other little stuff as well. But the family moves to a small town in Oklahoma, where when they moved to a property that was left by Coon's father. So, and it turns out that they're related to one of the original Ghostbusters, and they don't overtly say who it is, but a lot of people have been saying that it is Harold Ramis's character, and I do actually believe it is Harold Ramis's character, so that's a good way to bring him, or keep him and his legacy a part of the Ghostbusters movie, and these new Ghostbusters movies anyways. Paul Rudd is also part of the cast. It looks like he's playing one of the teachers, who is a massive Ghostbusters fan and fills in probably the gaps for the kids in the movie. The original cast members are set to return: Sigourney Weaver, Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson, Annie Potts, and reportedly maybe Bill Murray as well. But yeah.
What are you doing here in Somerville anyway?
Honestly, my mom won't say it, but we're completely broke. And the only thing that's left in our name is this creepy old farmhouse our grandfather left us in the middle of nowhere. Why'd you bring me up here?
Entertainment value?
What is that?
I don't know.
Somehow, a town that isn't anywhere near a tectonic plate, that has no fault lines, no fracking, no loud music even, is shaking on a daily basis.
Under the dining table now! Hey, remember that one summer we died under a table?
I found this in my living room.
Whoa, killer replica.
A replica of what?
A ghost trap? There hasn't been a ghost sighting in 30 years. New York in the 80s, it's like The Walking Dead. Your dad never mentioned this to you?
It's just my mom. My grandfather died. My mom says we're just here to pick through the rubble of his life.
Wait a minute. Who are you?
Call it fate. Call it luck. Call it karma. I believe that everything happens for a reason. Come on, darling.
It has a gunner seat?
It looks good. I'm not gonna lie. It's a teaser, so there's not a lot of stuff going on. It's really more just following this family and trying to bring us back into that world. I don't mind it. It looks fine. I know a lot of people were very upset and were not on board with the last Ghostbusters movie that came out, which is the one directed by Paul Feig and was an all-female Ghostbusters team. I didn't mind it. I enjoyed myself when I was watching it in theaters. It's not as bad as people out there say it is. I wouldn't go around saying that it is the perfect Ghostbusters movie, but I'm not gonna go out there and denounce it for everything that it is. But as for this one, it looks fine. It doesn't look too bad. It looks like it's, obviously you have Jason Reitman, the son of the original director of those movies, paying homage and doing his big thing. And this is kind of really his first kind of big blockbustery movie. He's really more known for his smaller stuff and his more drama related stuff like Up in the Air. I don't know why that's the only movie that's popping in my head that he's directed. I know he's directed some other stuff, but that's the first one that popped in my head. I think that's mainly because that's the first movie where I knew who Jason Reitman was. But he's directed a bunch of, but he's not a big blockbuster guy. So it's really cool to see him. His first real big blockbuster movie coming in, and it is a movie that is based off his father's work, which is really cool. And he's not gonna go in there and be like, oh, I'm gonna go in and mess it all up. No, he's gonna pay respect to the thing that his father created. So I think this is really cool. I think it's a really cool move. Again, it's the first teaser. There's not too much there. There's enough there to get us all, excited and get us to talk about it, but there's not enough there to really be like, I'm against this movie as a whole or not. But I'm looking forward to it. So Ghostbusters Afterlife also comes out next year. It comes out in July 10th, if you want to mark that down in your calendar. So there's that. And finally, the last trailer we're going to talk about this week, it is, of course, the big trailer, the one that blew up the internet over the weekend and has been blowing it up ever since. And that is the first trailer for the highly anticipated sequel to Wonder Woman 1984.
My life hasn't been what you probably think it has. We all have our struggles.
Have you ever been in love?
A long, long time ago. You?
So many times. Yeah, all the time.
Welcome to the future. Life is good, but it can be better. And why shouldn't it be? All you need is to want it. Think about finally having everything you always wanted.
I can save today, but you can save the world.
Steve.
No. I take what I want in return. Everyone will see. The world needs you. You know what you need to do.
Nothing good is born from lies. And greatness is not what you think. It's all art. That's just a trash can.
It's just a trash can. Yeah.
He's once again directed by Patty Jenkins. We don't know too much about the film's plot. We do know, of course, that Chris Evans is, Chris Evans? Really? Wow, I can't believe I did that. Chris Pines, Steve Trevor comes back. Of course, Gal Gadot is returning to play Diana, aka Wonder Woman. We also know that Kristen Wiig is in there playing Barbara Mervina, aka Cheetah. We don't see her becoming the Cheetah that we know from the comics, but maybe they're saving it for the movie. Who knows? Pedro Pascal is also in there. He's playing the comic book villain Max Lord, or sometimes referred to as Maxwell Lord. He's in there. Jenkins did reveal during the big comic, was it Comic-Con? I think it was Comic-Con. But it's known as, I put it here as I saw in the report, CCXP. It was over in San Pablo. But she revealed that when the trailer debuted, that the first cut of the movie was 2 hours and 45 minutes. I don't know if that's going to be the final runtime for it. She just revealed that was the first cut of how long it was. So we could be looking at over 2+ hours, maybe 2.5 hour Wonder Woman movie, which is all fine because look at that trailer. I mean, look at it. Go look at it again. Go look at it again. I'm giving you permission to pause the podcast and go watch that trailer again because it is awesome. I remember when the first Wonder Woman came out, everyone was so just clenched over, is it going to be any good? Why is it set in World War II? Why is there no color to it? Why is Gal Gadot still playing Diana Prince / Wonder Woman? And all this stuff. And of course, the cautiously optimistic fans like myself were like, let's give it a chance. It actually looks very, very good. But there was still that small, very group of people that were like, no, I'm not for it. And Wonder Woman has pretty much been declared or at least one of the best DC movies, if not the best DC movie that Warner Brothers and DC have put out. So, and it looks like they're just going to be upping the ante for 1984. It's bright. It looks loud. It is filled with so many 80s things. You got Diana in a new Wonder Woman suit. You have her lassoing people. You have her throwing her tiara like a boomerang. You got her. I don't know who she's throwing that bullet to, but whoever it is better get out of the way, otherwise they're gonna die. You have her lassoing a thunderbolt and then swinging on it so she can go to the other one. I mean, come on. I'm looking forward to it. I know a bunch of people are looking forward to it. It is definitely one of the highly anticipated movies for next year. It is definitely in the top 10 for sure. I haven't made a list, so I'm just going to say top 10 because it is going to be in the top 10 movies. Most highly anticipated movies of next year. Definitely of the summer because it comes out on June 5th. That is a long ways away, so still. But you know what? I'm okay. Let's wait. Let's wait and let our anticipation grow. Hopefully not too much where we're like, we're gonna, go against it. I highly doubt it because if they keep releasing trailers like this, then yeah, I'm on board. So let's move on. So yeah, those are all the trailers. But yeah, all the trailers are linked down below if you want to go check them out for the first time. You want to go watch them over again. Got them all right there in one little package for you. All right, so let's move on from the trailers to this week's movie news items of the week. So we're going to start off with some quick fire movie news items. This is, of course, where I just quick fire some movie news items for you guys. Pretty self-explanatory. Did I mention I was tired? I think I did. So we have some release dates for some movies from Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers has announced, taken off, and moved a few of their movies. First, they have once again removed the live-action adaptation of Akira from the release schedule, which will be directed by Taika Waititi once he finishes Thor: Love and Thunder. I believe it was supposed to come out in 2021, but it has now since been removed. Like I mentioned, they're going to wait for Taika Waititi to finish the next Thor movie so he can move on to do that. 2, they have moved the Anne Hathaway-led Sesame Street movie, which, by the way, if you didn't know was happening, is happening, from June 4th, 2021 to January 14th, 2022. No reason for the big delay, but there you have it. 3, the reboot for Mortal Kombat has been moved to an earlier release date. It was originally supposed to come out on March 5th, 2021, but they have moved it up to January 15th, 2021. So the wait's still long, but it's at least a little bit better if you're looking forward to that like I am. And finally, we have a release date for The Matrix 4, which I know a lot of people have been going crazy about online this weekend, or this week I should say, because of when it's coming out. So The Matrix 4 will be coming out on May 21st, 2021. The reason everyone's been going crazy is because that is the release date also for John Wick Chapter 4. So basically, you have 2 Keanu Reeves movies coming out on the same day. To both of them, the 4th chapter of a very popular franchise that everyone loves. So which one are you going to choose? Do I see one of them moving? Maybe. I actually kind of think that one of them is going to move. If anything, I think that maybe John Wick moves, although John Wick has proven that that late May release date has been very good to them for the last one. For the last one, that was very good to them. I think even for Chapter 2 was very good for them as well. So I don't think they're going to move. It's going to be very interesting. I think for the fanboys' sake, I think we should have both of them come out on the same day. But I will not be surprised if one of them moves, and I think the one that moves is going to be John Wick. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. We got until 2021 to think that over. So there you have it. Warner Brothers did announce a few other changes, but we'll talk about those in the main movie news items of the week. Speaking of The Matrix 4, The Matrix 4 has added Jonathan Groff to the cast, probably better known as Agent Holden Ford from Netflix's Mindhunters, which always reminded me that I need to watch the last season of Mindhunter because I haven't done that yet. Or he's also known as the voice of Kristoff in Disney's Frozen. Groff now joins the returning Keanu Reeves, like we mentioned, Carrie-Anne Moss and Jada Pinkett Smith, with the new cast members that include Yahya Abdul-Mateen II playing the new lead and potentially a young Morpheus, at least if you believe the rumors, Jessica Henwick, and Neil Patrick Harris as well. Lana Wachowski is returning solo to direct the sequel and co-writing the script as well. Production is expected to start early next year, so we'll obviously keep an eye out on that. The next quickfire movie news item is The Conjuring 3 got a title. New Line Cinema announced the title of the third Conjuring movie will be The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. The third film will be directed by Michael Chavez, who directed The Curse of La Llorona that came out earlier this year, which wasn't too bad. And we'll bring back Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga as Anna Lorraine Warren once more. They also released a plot synopsis for the movie, which sounds very cool. It reads, The Devil Made Me Do It reveals a chilling story of terror, murder, and unknown evil that shocked even experienced real-life paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Lauren. One of the most sensational cases from their files, it starts with a fight for the soul of a young boy, then takes them beyond anything they'd ever seen before to mark the first time in U.S. history that a murder suspect would claim demonic possession as a defense. The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, does have a release date for September 11th, 2020, which is next year. I don't think they have started filming yet, or maybe they have, although they can knock those out pretty quick. And finally, the last quickfire movie news item is Stephen King continues to be one of the most frequently adapted authors in Hollywood because we have another novel of his getting the big screen treatment, and that novel is The Dark Half. The story follows an author named Thad, who is a recovering alcoholic laying low in Ludlow, Maine. While Thad has had minor success as an author, he has become more popular through writing through his pseudonym George Stark, who writes about a fictional serial killer named Alexis Machine. When people find out, Thad's wife Liz suggests a mock burial for George Stark's pen name. Naturally, in very, very Stephen King fashion, George Stark becomes a real person and seeks out Thad. The book has been adapted before, in 1993, with Timothy Hutton playing Thad and George, and that was directed by George A. Romero. Yes, that George A. Romero, the one you're very thinking of, the very late George A. Romero. So if you want to go check that out before we get a new version, go ahead. There is also a director attached to the project, which is very common now when something gets announced. There's already a director attached, at least for Stephen King movies. The director attached is Alex Ross Perry, who is coming off his well-received and well-reviewed movie Her Smell that starred Elizabeth Moss that came out earlier this year. I did not watch it, but I heard very good things about it, so if you want to go try to find that, I'm pretty sure it's going to be streaming somewhere soon. It came out very earlier this year, so if it's not anywhere, I'm sure it'll probably hit somewhere pretty soon. So there is that. So that's all the quickfire movie news items. Let's move on to our big movie news items of the week. The first one we're going to talk about is sticking to horror, because like I mentioned, I want to bring more horror movie news into the podcast. Director Scott Derrickson and screenwriter C. Robert Cargill have confirmed this week that they are working on a new horror film together, and it will get going once Derrickson finishes Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. The two have worked together on Sinister, which they co-wrote together, and Doctor Strange, which they co-wrote together as well, along with the other screenwriter on the project, John Spaeths. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. They didn't go into detail on the project, but they did confirm that the movie will be an R-rated horror film. Plus, to add to the excitement, they are adapting a work of Joe Hill, aka the son of Stephen King, which I know a lot of people are upset every time that happens because they want him to stand on his own 2 feet, which he obviously should, but everyone probably won't know better as the son of Stephen King. But this is really cool because Sinister, I think, is one of those horror movies that if you watched it, there are probably a few scenes that pop out immediately in your head if someone mentions, "Hey, did you watch that horror movie Sinister?" And it's almost like a reflex. You're like, "Oh no, I don't want to talk about it." But by the way, if you haven't watched Sinister, it is a very good horror movie. It's a little messed up, but it's very good. It's not for the weak-hearted, I will say that. That was one of my big surprises when that came out, and it's still one of my favorite horror movies. So, since this day, it's definitely jumped to the top of my to if I had a horror movie list, it would. I'm pretty sure it would probably be in the top 10, maybe top 15. Definitely of all time, for sure. That is a movie that sticks with you for a while, and I would wholeheartedly recommend Sinister, especially if you're a horror fan, or if you're starting to get into horror movies, or you just want to add more horror movies to your repertoire. Sinister is definitely one of those, so I'm very excited for them to get back together and see what they can do. So let's talk about the next movie news item, which is the movie news item that I mentioned earlier about Warner Brothers changing some release dates or announcing some release dates. It is a continuation of that, but it's a little bit bigger because it pertains to 2 very big DC properties. So Warner Brothers and New Line announced the release date for Shazam 2, which will now hit theaters on April 1st, 2022, which is, believe it or not, 1 week before Sony releases Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse 2. So, good luck at the box office, Shazam, because I don't think you're going to win that weekend. But that second weekend, but good luck to you guys. But no, this is really cool. Shazam, obviously, a very big success, a very surprising, probably a little bit more surprising success, depending on how much money. I don't think they were expecting to make as much money as they did off that, or weren't expecting it to be as popular as it was. Zachary Levi will return to play, of course, Shazam, along with Asher Angel, who will play Billy Batson once again. And of course, Jake Dylan Grazer is also set to return as Freddie Highmore. They're the only Freddie Highmore. That's an actual person. Freddie Freeman as one of Billy's foster siblings. What is wrong with me today? So also coming back is director, I'm just going to keep going. Also coming back is director David F. Sandberg to direct the movie, and also screenwriter Henry Gayden. So New Line and DC are going with the "if it ain't broke, don't fix it" approach to Shazam, and yeah, why not? Because like I mentioned, it's very good. So the other DC property is The Flash. Now, we've talked about The Flash a lot on this podcast, and the last time I talked about The Flash, I try not to get too upset because it's just one of those things. And I'm not even the biggest Flash fan. I like the TV show, although I haven't watched the last 2 seasons. But did you catch that? Cause yeah. And it's not because I hate the show. I had a bunch of stuff going on. I'm behind on a lot of stuff. But this is a movie podcast. But it's been in the works for a while. And with multiple directors coming in and out, and filming getting delayed, and the movie getting pulled off the release schedule or whatever. It was back in August when Andy Muschietti, the director of It and It Chapter 2, he also directed Mama, signed on to direct the movie. And we're going back at it, because now Warner Brothers has, once again, set a release date for The Flash. So the new release date is July 1st, 2022, which, as you can hear from the sound of my voice, not too exciting because we don't know what's going to happen. So Ezra Miller is still attached, surprisingly, since he's been attached to the role since 2014, to play Barry Allen / The Flash. The last we heard about the script is that it was being written by Christina Hodson, who wrote Bumblebee. I think she even wrote some of Birds of Prey. So there you go. And in case you're wondering about the history of the people attached to The Flash, I'm going to fill you in. Like I mentioned, Ezra Miller's been attached to play The Flash since 2014. It's been that long. They have had a director attached at some point. So here's the list. And here's why people are upset. And here's why I got a little upset too, because of everything that's been going on. So Chris Miller, Phil Lord were hired to do a story treatment with Eyes to direct. But they left due to getting the job or getting the offer to do Solo, a Star Wars story. And of course, we all saw how that turned out. Seth Grahame-Smith then came on board, and he was hired to write and direct. Seth Grahame-Smith, by the way, he's kind of more of a producer now. He also comes in a little bit as a script doctor. He's worked on a bunch of stuff. I don't know why. Dark Shadows, for whatever reason, comes to mind. That one, the one with Johnny Depp. I don't know why that one comes immediately to mind. But he was hired to write and direct for a little bit, actually, and then he was removed over creative differences. And then for a long time there was no real writer-director attached at that point. And then Rick Famuyiwa came on board. He directed Dope, and it was him when he came on board where everyone was like, okay, maybe this can finally happen. He's coming off Dope, which if you haven't seen yet, I highly recommend you do. He even cast Kiersey Clemons as Iris West, who he had worked with on Dope, and he also cast Billy Crudup as Henry Allen, but he left a few months due to creative differences, and it got to the point where I'm like, why can't the Flash, who has this extremely valuable and awesome history in the comics behind him, not get a director? And why are all these directors leaving over creative differences? What is your problem? So it was that. And then earlier this year, there was that story that Ezra Miller took it upon himself to team up with Grant Morrison, which, if you're a comic book fan at all, you know that's a very big deal. And they wrote a version of the script which reportedly took a darker approach, because Ezra Miller at this point was like, if none of you are going to direct a movie, or none of you really want this movie to be made, I'm going to take it upon myself to get this movie out as soon as possible. And he went and hired Grant Morrison. They wrote a script together, but Warner Brothers was like, no, just relax. We got this. Go make 3 more Fantastic Beast movies that we're forcing you to do. But so it boggles me that we have not gotten a Flash movie yet. Because again, the Flash is one of those characters. If you look at the DC list of popular characters, I'm pretty sure the Flash is up there, and the fact that we haven't gotten at least one Flash movie is a little ridiculous, especially considering how many directors they've attached to this thing. So it's a little weird, but we'll see. I like Andy Muschietti. I think he's a pretty decent choice. He has said and admitted that there will be really no horror twist, considering his films have been pretty much horror movies, that there will be no horror twist to the Flash, and that's not even what interested him. What interested him in the Flash was the character drama approach. So that should be pretty cool to see how that works out. And it kind of follows the trend of Warner Brothers. They've been hiring a lot of horror directors to do their stuff. David F. Sandberg, who directed Shazam, he did Annabelle Creation. He did Lights Out. Then you have Jaime Collet-Serra, who is directing Black Adam. He directed Shallows. Wait, is it Jaime Collet-Serra directing Black Adam? Or am I confusing with someone else? I'm going to have to look that up. Then you had James Wan, who of course is known as a horror director when he directed Aquaman. So it's following this nice little trend of horror directors coming in, directing superhero movies. And for the most part, they turned out pretty well. Although I wasn't the biggest fan of Aquaman, but I don't necessarily blame James Wan for that. But I was never really a big Aquaman fan to begin with anyway. So, but yeah, there is that. So it should be interesting to kind of see if that ever happens. They've got a release date, but they've had a release date before. Well, I'm not holding my breath on that, but we'll wait and see. I won't believe it until I see it in front of me. All right, those are all your movie news items that came out this week, guys. Let's move on to this week's movie releases.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
So we had a few limited releases that came out this week for you guys. Like I mentioned, this is a pretty big week this week, and I think pretty sure some of these releases will be getting bigger or whiteout releases or rollouts as the weeks go by, especially one of them, because it's been getting a lot of buzz. But the first limited release this week is Selberg, which is inspired by real events about the French New Wave darling and breathless star Jean Seberg. I'm pretty sure I pronounced that second time wrong. Played by Kirsten Stewart, who in the late 60s was a target by Hoover's FBI because of her political and romantic involvement with civil rights activist, I should say, Hakeem Jamal, which is played by Anthony Mackie in the movie. Movie co-stars Marco Qualley from Once Upon a Time in Mexico. I almost said Once Upon a Time in Mexico, which is a real movie. Just not the movie I was thinking about. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Zazie Beetz is also in there. Jack O'Connell's in there. Stephen Root's in there, and also Vince Vaughn. Why does it always sound like there's a plane over my house when I'm doing these things? So the next limited release is A Hidden Life that is written and directed by Terrence Malick. It is apparently based on a true story, or at least inspired by a true story. It is an Austrian soldier who becomes a conscientious objector who refuses to fight. I have to say it slow, apparently. Who refuses to fight for the Nazis in World War II. This has been getting some pretty decent reviews. It is Terrence Malick, so I know Terrence Malick isn't for everyone, but it at least looks beautiful. It will at least look beautiful if you go watch it. And then the movie that I was talking about that I kind of teased out a little bit is Uncut Gems. This is directed by the Safdie brothers, who directed, what was it called? It was a movie with Robert Pattinson that came out, was it last year, 2 years ago? And that was kind of his last, kind of really indie movie. I guess I don't necessarily count The Lighthouse as an indie movie, because I think it came out in enough theaters. Or maybe it is an indie movie. Who knows? But that was the one that everyone that was not on the Robert Pattinson train and they saw Good Times. That's what it was called. Good Times. When they saw Good Times, it's like, oh no, okay, yeah, he's a serious actor. Okay, I'm on board now. I see what it is now. That's what it was. So they directed this. It's about a charismatic New York City jeweler played by Adam Sandler. Yes, that Adam Sandler, who always is on the lookout, I should say, for the next big score, and makes a series of high-stakes bets that could lead to the windfall of a lifetime. Howard must, and that's his name, by the way, Howard. Howard must perform a precautious high-wire act balancing business, family, and encroaching adversaries on all sides. So this has been getting a lot of great reviews. Everyone's saying this is probably Adam Sandler's best work in a while, and that the Safdie brothers are one of those directors. I'm pretty sure I pronounced their names wrong, but they're one of those directors that we should be on the lookout for, and we should really keep an eye out on. Obviously, with Good Times and now this, that's kind of two movies back to back. So, and you got Robert Pattinson in one, you got Adam Sandler in one, and I saw the trailer. I believe it was actually in front of The Lighthouse when I saw it, and I have heard about it. I hadn't watched the trailer. I knew the trailer was out. I didn't watch it. I watched it in theaters. And I was like, you know what? No, yeah, okay, I'll watch it. And ever since then, I've been hearing nothing but great things about Uncut Gems. So that comes out on limited release. Like I mentioned, I'm pretty sure that one's going to get a rollout release. So if you want to go watch it, you probably have to wait a little bit. If not, then go watch it. All right, so let's get to the wide releases this week. Like I mentioned, there's a lot of them coming out. There is, I put a number here because that usually helps me. There is 4 movies coming out. 4 wide release movies coming out, all different, all counter-programming to one another. So the first one is Richard Jewell, which is based on the real events and person, and also based off the magazine article by Marie Brunner. It is about an American security guard, Richard Jewell, played by Paul Walter Hauser, who heroically saves thousands of lives from an exploding bomb at the 1996 Olympics, but is unjustly vilified, by journalists and the press who falsely report that he was a terrorist. It is, of course, directed by Clint Eastwood. It also co-stars Sam Rockwell, Olivia Wilde, Ian Gomez, John Hamm, and Kathy Bates. This one is also getting very, very good reviews. This wasn't supposed to come out this year. It was supposed to come out last year, or at least that was the target to come out last year. But Clint Eastwood just, he turned this thing around like crazy, and it's coming out this year. It's coming out this week, and it has been getting nothing but great reviews. Some people are saying this is Clint Eastwood's best movie in quite some time. So I don't know how I feel about that. But I didn't know anything. I think when we first talked about this movie news item that it was getting made, this has been in the works for a little bit, actually, but for those who don't know, I think Jonah Hill was supposed to play Richard Jewell at one point, and I think they were even looking at Leonardo DiCaprio to play his lawyer. Sam Rockwell ends up playing the lawyer in the movie, but I think originally it was supposed to be Jonah Hill and Leonardo DiCaprio, which is really weird to think about now, but I like the casting in this. The casting's great. Sam Rockwell is always awesome. You got Olivia Wilde in there, John Hamm's in there playing a bad guy. You got Kathy Bates in there. Also, you got Paul Walter Hauser, which people will probably remember him from I, Tonya. He was also in Black Klansman as well. This is obviously very different from what he's played before. And I didn't know anything about Richard Jewell at all. 1996, I was still pretty young, so I don't even remember this happening. I was old enough to, obviously watch the news and know what was going on, but I don't remember this at all. And to hear and to read about the things that they put Richard Jewell through and what happened to his life was heartbreaking. It really was. And now we're gonna have this, and it's kind of interesting. So the movie has already suffered some backlash over the Olivia Wilde character. She plays a real reporter, obviously, but the way they treat her character and the way how she got her sources and her information apparently is not how she really was. So there's that whole thing going on online. If you want to read all the juicy bits and go look for that, that's pretty interesting. So there's that. The next movie coming out, the next wide release, is also based on a true story. It's Bombshell. A group of women, played by Nicole Kidman, Charlize Theron, and Margot Robbie, decide to take down Fox News head Roger Ailes, which is played by a very makeup-heavy John Lithgow, and the toxic atmosphere he presides over the network. Bombshell co-stars Kate McKinnon, Alice Eve, Mark Duplass, Michael McDowell, Connie Britton, and Allison Janney, amongst many others as well. So this is a true life story. Charlize Theron plays, I almost said Nicole Kidman, I don't know why I said that. She plays Megyn Kelly. Nicole Kidman plays, I think she's playing Gretchen Carlson, right? I think that's what she's playing. And then I think Margot Robbie's not playing anyone in particular. I think she's playing a combination of a bunch of real life people. So she's one of those makeshift characters that sometimes these movies kind of make. So it's very interesting to see all those in there. It's not getting the best reviews so far. A lot of people saying that the movie is hitting the mark on what it's trying to say and what it's trying to do. But you got Bombshell there for you guys. The next movie is the movie that I watched already, that I've seen so far, and I'll review that in just a little bit. And that's Black Christmas. Hawthorne College is quieting down for the holidays one by one. Sorority? What the hell is wrong with me today? Sorority girls on campus are being killed by an unknown stalker, but the killer is about to discover that this generation's young women aren't willing to become hapless victims as they mount a fight to the finish. Black Christmas stars Imogen Poots, or is led by Imogen Poots. You also got Carrie Ellis in there as well. I'm gonna save what I thought about that movie, but I will tell you what I pre-thought about that movie, and that is that I was not looking forward to it at all. The last Black Christmas remake that came out years ago was not very good, but this new version, it promised a more, better take and a more feminist take also on it. But like I mentioned, I will give my thoughts right after I finish all of this, and we'll get to that in just a second. But the last wide release coming out this weekend, which is a movie that I'm going to watch over the weekend, is Jumanji: The Next Level. A team of friends return to Jumanji to rescue one of their own, but discover that nothing is as what they expect. The players need to brave parts unknown, from arid deserts to snowy mountains, in order to escape the world's most dangerous game. The Next Level stars Dwayne Johnson, Karen Gillan, Kevin Hart, Jack Black, Alex Wolff, Madison Eisman, Morgan Turner, Sardarius Blaine, Awkwafina, Nick Jonas, Danny DeVito, and Danny Glover. I really, really, really liked the last Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle. I thought it was great. I thought it was funny. I thought it was probably one of the most fun experiences I had in a movie theater at that point of the year when it came out. I think it came out around the same time. It came out around the holidays. But it was a lot of fun. I liked it. It was funny. I think it was pretty cool. And now we have The Next Level. And it's getting some pretty mixed reviews, although I'm seeing a lot more positive reviews than negative, although maybe just depends on where I'm looking. But the reviews so far have been pretty great, saying it's a lot of fun, saying it's a worthy sequel, saying that there's there's bigger laughs, there's bigger set pieces and stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to it. And if anything, you got Dwayne Johnson putting on his best Danny DeVito impression and Kevin Hart putting on his best Danny Glover impression. And anytime Dwayne Johnson and Kevin Hart together, they're a riot, so why not? And you got Karen Gillan coming back as a badass, and yeah, let's do it. Why not? I'm excited for it. I love the first one. I'm really hoping that this one's as great as the first one, maybe even better. So yeah, I'm looking forward to those. So your wide releases once again: Jumanji: The Next Level, Black Christmas, Bombshell, and Richard Jewell. Your limited releases are Uncut Gems, A Hidden Life, and Selberg. And of course, a lot of things are rolling out. It's that time of the year where things are either coming back in theaters for a little bit, and then for like a weekend, or you got things that are coming out in very limited releases and then rolling out in the weeks to come. So just be aware of stuff, because sometimes I miss stuff too, of all this stuff, and it's that time of the year where stuff's rolling out because of Oscar season or because it's the holidays. So they're just trying to get everything up and out there. So if you see something in a movie theater and you're like, oh, I didn't know that was out, go watch it, because there's a good chance that's not going to be in theaters that long. So yeah, those are the limited releases. Those are your wide releases. Let's get to my Black Christmas little mini review thoughts here.
It's my privilege to teach you this semester. Enjoy your winter breaks and Merry Christmas.
What's up, ladies? Excited for tonight?
It is our last day of our last fall semester of college ever.
Jingle bell, jingle bell, jingle bells swing and jingle bells ring.
Can you take a photo of all of us?
Of course.
Where's Helena?
She was patting back of sodas earlier, but she looked really good.
Cheese.
We shouldn't have let her go back by herself.
She's fine. Come on, live a little.
In the frosty air.
No, wait.
Helena hasn't gotten home yet.
If I were missing, I'd want you to unleash the bloodhounds and track me down. She was at DKO last night.
Still creating problems, huh, Rye?
Hello? Hello? I'm worried that something bad happened.
It's winter break. Could just be a delay of some sort. Snow.
My friend is missing.
9 times out of 10, the girl's just with a boyfriend.
I will bring you to your knees.
There's someone in the house.
What the? This can't be real.
This school has 200 years of history. Many sacrifices have been made to keep our traditions alive.
You're all insane.
I
I'm tired of hiding. I'm tired of running. Go, 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 go!
Ho, 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 bitch. You messed with the wrong sisters.
So a little background on Black Christmas. And by the way, if you hear certain things, I actually moved to where I was recording earlier. This new version is a remake of Bob Clark's cult classic film from 1974, and there was also a 2006 version by Glenn Morgan, who hated the movie and constantly fought with the studio and producers and said if the movie failed, he'd never direct again. And at that point, he had already had a critical failure at the box office. So he said if he had another one, that he was going to stop directing feature films, and he has never directed again because this movie was not critically successful as the studio thought it would be. Both of them were rated R and met with their own controversies before and after the movie even came out. The 74 version was reportedly inspired by real events that happened in Canada, but as far as the movie itself, it was an original story. It's before it even aired on TV after the movie had already, come out in theaters. NBC, to be more specific, there was a similar murder. Someone broke into a sorority and murdered 3 of the sorority sisters that happened in Florida, and NBC was forced to pull the movie. They did eventually air the movie on TV once the murderer had been caught, and that murderer happened to be Ted Bundy. So there's that. The 74 version was also the first seasonal slasher movie, and that started the kick trend of Halloween and Friday the 13th and April Fool's Day, Mother's Day, and all that other good stuff. Coincidentally, they were trying to make a sequel to the movie, and originally they wanted Halloween to be the sequel to that movie, but John Carpenter was not having any of that, and he created his own story, so there is all that. The 2006 version was also met with controversy because of its release date. Christian groups wanted the studio to rethink the release because they were actually releasing the movie on Christmas Day, and the studio was having none of that. They were like, listen, it's tradition to release a horror movie around the holiday season, and that's what they ended up doing. They also shot footage that was only meant for the trailers, which isn't necessarily a new thing, especially nowadays with the Marvel films. But back then, it wasn't really a norm. So if you go back and you watch the trailer and then you watch the movie, not that I would recommend you do that, it's because there wasn't some secret or alternate version of the movie. They purposefully shot footage for the trailers only. Only 2 real things made it into the movie from that additional footage that they shot. Both of them are in the international versions. There is an alternate death scene to one of the characters, and there is an alternate ending. And the movie had gone through a lot of rewrites as well. Who was going to survive, how the killer ended up getting killed, and all that good stuff. So there is that. But let's get to this movie, which I will say now, if you have avoided the trailers and the TV spots and you're interested in watching this, keep doing that, because the spoilers are all over the trailers and the TV spots. They did try to hide at least one thing in the trailer, but it's not very easy. Looking back at it now, it's like, what? Why would you even recommend? Okay. So there is that. So the basic structure is still there for the movie. Someone is attacking sorority sisters during the holiday break. In this new version, however, it takes a very more modern day approach and adds some more topical commentary to it. The primary focus is on one sorority, but we do see more sororities getting attacked, but they don't really fit into the plot too much. We follow Riley, who is played by Imogen Poots, who is one of the 4 main big sisters. The others are Alicia Shannon's Chris, Lily Donohue's Marty, and Brittany O'Grady's Jessie. And the movie takes place months after Riley has been sexually assaulted by one of the guys in the fraternity called Brian, who doesn't really play into the plot too much other than to develop Riley's character herself, but we're just going to move on from that. So as the students are about to leave for the holiday break, there's one last big party bash. The girls actually perform a pretty catchy song that may be the only good thing that people take away from the movie, but it's also that scene in particular also pretty much jumpstarts the girls starting to get harassed. They get these weird DMs because, it's 2019, and some of the sorority sisters start to go missing, which is doesn't feel right to Riley, and then they get attacked by people wearing the black robes and masks that we see in the trailers and TV spots, and it all leads to this big showdown and very twisty, quote-unquote, reveal. And that's the movie in a nutshell. I don't want to give too much away. As opposed to the last two versions, though, the sorority sisters are not just maintained to the house. A lot of the action was only maintained in the house itself, but this one kind of takes place throughout the whole campus. The attacks do happen in the house, in the sorority house, but it doesn't happen really until the last 30 to 40 minutes in the movie, which, by the way, this movie feels like nothing really ever happens. And I mean, stuff happens. We do see a couple deaths here and there. There's some sort of character development, but not really. It doesn't really feel like nothing happens in this movie until that last act, which by then you're probably already kind of checked out. I know I kind of was a little checked out at that point. There is a mystery angle to the movie, which is the twist, which I thought was, I guess I thought it was okay. It's never really developed and it's never really explained too much. It's a rather weird twist to introduce to a movie that tries to tackle real subjects, especially something like sexual assault, which they kind of it's really what holds the character of Riley's character, or holds you know what I meant. But it's kind of that the only thing that really kind of holds the whole film together, where it's Riley's story, and then you kind of introduce this weird little twist, and just the way they go about it at the end seems kind of a little cheesy, at least in its delivery. So I may be in that camp alone. I know I'm not in that camp alone, but it's a little weird that they would do it. It's an okay twist. I just wish that it was developed more, but just the way they deliver it in the movie just seems kind of half baked. The characters aren't also that great. Poots is probably the best thing in the movie as her character of Riley. Shannon's Chris is the very politically strong character, and she kind of plays it a little too heavy-handed, but we all definitely know a Chris in our lives like that. And as for Shannon herself, I mean, she does fine for what they're doing, but it's just it's a little too heavy-handed at times. Donahue's Marty and O'Grady's Jesse are a little underdeveloped for the most part. Marty is dating Nate, which is played by Simon Mead, and he's kind of the protector of the sorority in some cases. I think they even call him like what do they call? They call him something in the movie, and I thought it was very clever, and that's essentially who he is. But he doesn't really get too much screen time either. And Jessie is kind of, I guess you would say, the ditzy one of the characters. There's one point where she's cooking something. She's cooking a ham, and she's like, at one point she comes to the characters and says, it just says to stick the ham in the oven and that's it. It seems too easy. And at one point she said, I would be cooking ham for the rest of my life because I never thought it was too easy. So she kind of plays a little bit of the ditzy character in that regard. But that's pretty much. There's other characters, and there's one other character. There's a love interest for Riley in the movie, but he's this kind of weird. I mean, he's not weird, but he's just kind of like this socially awkward. He doesn't really know what to say or do. He's almost trying a little too hard to kind of impress Riley at some point. But yeah, the characters themselves are okay. And there's also one point where I confused two characters because they looked a lot alike. So if you make that mistake, don't worry, you're not alone. And then there's Cary Elwes in the movie. He's in the movie. I'm just going to say he's one of the bad guys, because the movie does not try to hide it at all that he is one of the bad guys. He comes on screen and you're like, no, yeah, he's a bad guy. Like they don't even try to make him like a red herring. No, he is a bad guy. He is a villain character. So there's that. Also, and this is one of the main things that kind of bothered me a little bit. And it's not the rating, because the movie's rated PG-13. It's not the rating. It doesn't feel like a PG-13 horror movie, especially considering what you can get away with now in a PG-13 horror movie. I get why they chose the rating, because, they want more people to come in and watch it. But I feel like at times it's scared of its own rating. There would be these weird cutaways, or they wouldn't really show you a reveal, or they would edit a death scene really weird and like cut it off like before it even happens. I mean, granted, the 74 version wasn't really that gory. It didn't really have a lot of gore in the original version. The 2006 version was gory. They showed you a lot of stuff, but as for the original, it didn't really. It wasn't really one of those I combine horror and gory. It wasn't really one of those gory horror movies from the 70s. It was somewhat tame, for the most part, because it didn't really give too much away. But yeah, so maybe that's what they were going for, kind of a little bit of a homage. But it was a little weird sitting there and seeing some of the editing choices for the movie. All in all, I wasn't really too impressed with the remake. It tries to be a more modern take on it and introduce things that are unique for this version of the story, and that's something I do appreciate, that they try to do their own thing and not just try to rehash a lot of the stuff that was already done in the past two versions. But I just felt underwhelmed by it, and knowing that the trailers did give away quite a bit, it was and really is hard to really be on board with the movie, knowing that I kind of already seen at least a good chunk of the movie in the trailer. And that's not something you really want, especially if you have additional stuff like a twist and other things. I think there were ways that they could have worked around it in the trailers to not give away too much, and they just went with the route they chose. So I wasn't really impressed by it. I don't know if I would even really recommend this movie to go watch it in the theater. I think if you're interested in watching it, I say go for it. I'm one of those people that says if you're interested in watching a movie, doesn't matter what anyone else's opinion is, you should go watch it. You heard me earlier, I wasn't really that interested in watching this, and I went to go watch it anyway. If you're in that camp, go watch it. Just don't expect a lot from it. Maybe you'll be different. Maybe you'll like it more than I did, but I wasn't too impressed by it. I was very underwhelmed by it. If you ever want to watch it, I guess you can watch it like on $5 Tuesday or something. If you really want to watch it in a theater, you can just wait till it's on a streaming service. I do applaud the movie for trying to do its own thing, not try to rehash a lot of the stuff that's already been done, but there's just a lot of things the movie did that didn't really make too much sense, or wasn't fully developed for me. And that's it, everybody. Thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast this week. Like I mentioned, I was tired this weekend, or this week. It's been a very busy week. It's been a very stuffed week. So thank you guys so much for dealing with it, listening. It just happens, man. And I didn't want to leave you guys with another pod list week, especially considering that next week actually might be the last week of the podcast for the year. Because obviously the week after that is the week of Christmas, or the holidays if you don't celebrate Christmas. And now I'm going to have some family over, and we're going to just, all be together. And yeah, so I think next week's podcast will be the last one of the new year, or of this year, I should say. And then next time you see me, it will be in the new year, or hear me. So yeah. So next week's podcast, we're treating it as the last podcast of the year. For 2019. It's crazy. It's already the end of 2019, guys. So yeah, that's it. That's all the podcast I got for you guys. Thank you guys so much. Everything that you need to follow me on social media, to follow the podcast on social media is down below in the description/show notes area. Trailers are down there. If anything drops, trailer-wise anyway, when this thing is going out, I will link it down there, so it will be down there when it uploads. Yeah, that's all I got for you guys. Thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast this week. I got nothing clever for you guys. I really don't. So thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast this week. I very much appreciate it. I will see you guys next week. That's it. So have a good week. Be good people. Be safe, and as always, go watch some movies.
Whoop whoop! Yeah! Give it up! Movies!